Hi, I'm Sandy Barker, president and co-founder of Gold Rush Cure Foundation. Welcome back to Rush Podcast. For those of you who have not seen some of our past episodes, you can find them on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, all the different venues, including our website, that kind of thing. We've had a busy year. We're getting ready to film some other ones, and we're excited. The Rush Podcasts really give you a glimpse of people we've met along the way regarding some of our heroes, our families, our volunteers, our survivors, and just other people in the childhood cancer community. Our next guest I have known for quite some time. I met him on one of my early childhood cancer advocacy trips in Washington, D.C. I'm really excited to have him here and have a lot of respect for him. So thank you for joining us, Joe. It's good to see you.
It is a pleasure to join you, my friend.
We met through similar circumstances. Joe's son, Andrew, was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia, as was Christian. And we kind of were just a mom and a dad that found ourselves in similar situations, and we stay friends. And I just have so much respect for Joe because of the leader he is, the heart he has, the work he's done in growing the Andrew McDonough B Positive Foundation to a worldwide movement of positivity and support for our childhood cancer families. I want this interview, Joe, to be about Joe the dad and also Joe the founder of B Positive, because both parts are what makes you you and what makes B Positive so special. So how about if we start from the beginning? Tell us a little bit about Andrew, because that's how everything started.
I am blessed. My wife and I are blessed with two children, Allie and Andrew. They're 2 years apart, but they used to say that they were twins. They'd finish each other's sentences. And as a dad, I just have always felt so blessed. And to have, and Andrew was a freshman in high school back in 2007. And he helped his travel soccer team win a Pennsylvania state championship on a Saturday. And less than 48 hours later, we were in our local hospital thinking that Andrew might have appendicitis as he had pain in his right side. As that day progressed, we learned that Andrew did not have appendicitis. He was diagnosed with leukemia. Most kids with cancer go in and out of the hospital. Our situation was going to be very different. Andrew almost immediately went into septic shock, which is like an infection bomb going off in your body. And then he went into cardiac arrest. I'm literally standing by my son's bed right there. Boy, that trained with college athletes and just led his team to a state championship. How is it possible that his heart could stop? Well, they pushed us out of the room. Basically, just this frantic, mayhem ensued. They resuscitated Andrew. And I said to the doctor, "Is my son going to be okay?" And he looked me in the eyes. And I was just stunned. And I said to him, "Only God and Andrew knows." And we walked away. And we went back to Andrew's bedside. Andrew did live through that night. And he battled for another 166 days. We never left the hospital. We were in the hospital for 167 straight days, virtually every one of those days in the ICU.
Wow.
My son had almost 50 operations, 4 strokes, and a brain aneurysm. And on July 14, 2007, Andrew died in his 16-year-old sister's arms. And 2 weeks prior to going into the hospital, just hanging out at home, Andrew said to me, "Dad, what's my blood type?" And I didn't know. And it turns out we found out on day 2 in the hospital, Andrew's blood type was B positive. And so that became a mantra while we were in the hospital. And when Andrew went to heaven, we started the Andrew McDonough B Positive Foundation. And I had a reporter one time say to me, Joe, what would you have done if his blood type was B negative? I said, we would have come up with something else.
There you go. I think one of the things that we really always resonated with each other, because Andrew, from the beginning, from the first time we spoke, reminded me of Christian. Andrew was 8 months older than Christian. They both had a very challenging type of leukemia. They both were athletes. They both loved soccer. They both were scholars and beautiful, caring hearts and just loving kids. And then Andrew passed away 5.5 months before Christian did. And I just feel like there was that, I don't know, I almost felt like, because I had a child similar to Andrew, I almost felt like I knew him even though I didn't. And so he just was always special to me, even though I didn't know him. And then after meeting Allie and Chris and everything, your family's always been very near and dear to me. So we got to hear, some of his very, very challenging journey. And then to when he passed, so many people always focus, I feel, on the mom, what the mom went through, what she had to face and her reaction during the journey, everything like that, and less so on the dad. What did you experience, and what advice would you give to other dads going through it?
I appreciate you asking that, Sandy, because I think dads are often overlooked, and that's not taking anything away from the moms, because the burden does most of the time tend to fall on the mom, whether it's missing work and being at the hot child's bedside. I don't know if I have any brilliant advice. I'm just a dad who was thrust into this, like we all are. You read books when you're pregnant, what to expect when you're pregnant, and you prepare for something. Well, childhood cancer, one day your life is normal, perfect, boring, which is wonderful.
Yep.
And then the next day you learn this new vocabulary and you're in there, and nothing that seemed important to you before is now important. And a lot of people cope differently. And that's where I've seen a lot of the families struggle. The moms and the dads handle the situation differently. It is the scariest possible thing that you can imagine.
Yeah, I agree.
And it really is not surprising to me that so many marriages suffer from that. As far as advice for dads, I don't know. I continued to be the dad to Andrew that I felt he deserved. I was his advocate. He was often very heavily medicated, a lot of times intubated, so he couldn't speak. And I'm a little bit old school, I guess. In my world, my job is to protect my wife and children. And, I said to the doctors, I really don't care if you like me or not. I'm here to advocate for that boy in the bed.
Yep.
If when we leave this hospital, the four of us, you like me, wonderful. I would rather that. But I'm not here looking for poker buddies or anything like that. I'm here to advocate for that boy.
Yep. And you did. And I feel like just knowing your journey and what we've spoken about, what I've read about, everything like that, and knowing how tight you are with your wife, Chris, with your daughter, Allie, I feel like knowing what I know, this very, very, very difficult journey brought you closer. I mean, you really, even though you were close family before, you really banded together to do everything you could to help Andrew. And then, I mean, I know he died in Allie's arms, and so, that is a rough thing to get through. But I mean, just knowing your family, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see how you have each other's backs and how close you are and the love there. And, I don't know. From an outsider, it just seems like this just even cemented the relationships you had even further.
I really appreciate you saying that. We said we're in the hospital, we're a family of four, and we're very tight. And to us, the only thing that really matters is not the trappings of life. Sure, I'll like physical things, material things, but it was how close we were. And And I think when you go through an adversity like this, it tends to either break you or
Mhm.
strengthen you.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like, in some ways, we talk about, sometimes people ask me about my faith. I said, well, I think in this situation, you either get stronger or you go farther away
Yeah.
from your faith. And it's not, it's, I think we are who we are because of the experiences and the journey that Andrew had, and what it has done to our lives, um, is forever part of our DNA. I'm not going to lie and say I'm glad it happened because of,
Yeah.
no,
No. No.
I would give
Yep.
anything to have Andrew back.
Amen.
But I also feel very thankful, um, very blessed that I have Allie and Chris,
Hmm.
because a lot of times people see me with the charity,
Hmm.
with the Be Positive Foundation, because I'm the face of it.
Hmm.
They're the ones that prop me up and keep me strong
Yeah.
and keep me going. And it was also a challenge. I'll be honest with you, and I don't know if you faced this or not, but after Andrew died, um, it's very hard to not be just in this pit of despair.
Hmm.
And I had a kind of a sort of an epiphany that in my grief, I still have a responsibility to be the best husband I can be
Hmm.
and the best father I can be, because Allie deserves me to be a good dad. And there's part of me that just wanted to dig a hole and jump into it.
Yeah.
But, then you kind of, I would kind of lose two children
Hmm.
to this.
Yeah. Yeah. It just, and we all know the divorce rate's very high after you lose a child, and after going through the journey, that kind of thing. And any of us who have been through it would never in a million years judge anybody who did lose their marriage or whatever, because we know we fought for ours. And even if you do that, it 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 doesn't always work. And so I think those of us who have been blessed enough to walk out of this with still, our marriage intact, and our kids close to us, our heart, it's the antithesis of judging the other families. Our heart goes out to those, because that's just another loss that they've had to withstand. And that's just heartbreaking. So I do know many, many people who have had to deal with that too. And I'm just thankful, as I'm sure you are, we don't fall in that category. So moving on to Be Positive, what made you start that? Because kind of off what we were just talking about, when you lose a child, I mean, man, you got to start your grief. You want to get that relationship going again with your spouse and your kids and everything, because you have been. Christian was sick for 20 months, and we spent almost 17 of the months in the hospital. So I didn't even live at home for almost 2 years. So it's just moving back home to be with my family. And I know you guys started yours pretty quickly. What was what ignited you going, okay, I want to start this. I know I can do good, and I want to get this going.
Well, similar to what you said about we don't judge people and everyone they have to make their own choices.
Hmm.
Similarly, in our situation, Allie was starting her senior year in high school
Hmm.
within weeks after Andrew's passing. Chris, for her, the best thing was for her to go back to work. She wanted to do that.
Yeah.
In my case, I couldn't go back to work. I felt a sense of loyalty to my employer, JP Morgan Chase, but I just couldn't. And I remember I met with my boss, and I said to him, I said, Bill, the first time, if I come back, the first time I'm in a meeting and someone's talking, I worked in credit cards, and someone's talking about something really important like late fees or interest rates, and they think it's really important, I said, I'm liable to reach across the table and punch them in the face.
Yeah.
And I said,
Yeah.
because I've seen what's important,
Yeah.
and I know what's not important. And he laughed. He goes, I know you, and you might do that. So it's probably better you not come back. So we started the Be Positive Foundation, and a lot of this came from the fact, and Allie, Chris, and I all felt the same way. We were so blessed with support. People brought us meals, and
Yeah.
they raked our leaves and just did different things for us. And a lot of families don't have that support.
Yeah.
And so for us, and I don't judge, but we did not want to be a charity that was just about the disease that my son had,
Mm-hmm.
or just at the
Yeah,
hospital where my son
I
was
hear you.
treated. We want to help all childhood cancer everywhere in the country,
Mm-hmm.
everywhere in the world from a research standpoint. And so we started off, and I remember the first family we helped purchase a bed for the child. And then it just kind of went from
Yeah.
there. And now this year, we'll give out over $5.5 million.
Wow. That's
Pay families stay in their home, and we helped a little. If you don't mind me sharing this story, we helped a little girl named Stephanie. She was 10 years old. She had ALL leukemia. Her only parent is her mom, and this was during the height of the pandemic. And Stephanie's mom got COVID. And not surprisingly, as you know, immunocompromised
yep.
children, Stephanie got it as well. Her mom died.
Oh my
So here's a
gosh.
10-year-old girl at the start of her 2 to 3 year treatment protocol who has COVID, and she's an orphan.
Wow.
Miraculously, she beat COVID, and she had an aunt and uncle who thankfully were willing to raise her, but they worked in the restaurant industry in California, and they were furloughed, and so now they were facing eviction. So we keep the roof over that new family, so that Stephanie could have a stable place to come home to from visits at the hospital. And we pay for mold remediation.
Wow.
I mean, you can't
Yep.
bring a child into
No.
a moldy environment. And
No.
we pay to put tires on a car so a family can get to the hospital. You went to great hospitals. We were very fortunate with hospital. What good is the hospital if you can't get there?
Yeah.
And so it all kind of started from, you know, wanting to kind of pay back some of the kindness that was shared with us and to other people. And we also know that when we pay a bill, you're not just paying a utility bill or a rent bill. You're throwing in your scariest time in your
Yeah.
life, someone out there who you'll never meet
Mm-hmm.
cares about you.
Yeah. I've said to families, because I do a lot of mentoring for newly diagnosed families, and one of the things I tell them is this is going to be the hardest thing you have ever gone through in your life, but you're also going to see more blessings than you've ever seen in your life. And it's not always the people you know. A lot of the times those blessings are from someone you don't even know and you'll never meet. It's the people bringing you food that you don't know. It's the people like Be Positive, supporting you and giving you that financial hug when you're going, how am I going to make this happen? What am I going to do? So we had the same experience. We were so blessed with so much support. And I know we were blessed because it's a lot of people don't have that. So I totally track with what, when you do have that and you do want to turn around and do something, to help families that are maybe not as fortunate as you. So the fact that you can give away $5.5 million of support to families, let's bring in your volunteers and your donors. What advice do you have for them? What do you say to them? Because a lot of it's your hard work, and a lot of it's your volunteers and your donors. So this is, what do you say to them, and what would you like to say to them as far as thanking them, that kind of thing?
Well, I think sometimes when you run a charity, you get too much credit. Um, there's, I don't do this by myself.
I know.
Um, you know, Gold Rush Cure, you are the heart and soul of it, but there's so many people.
Amen.
And, you know,
Amen.
if I could just regress for a minute, I do want to say one of the things, you talk about the people you meet, and I've met so many people like you and others I never would have met.
Yeah.
And it's great sometimes when we get a chance to collaborate, and I want to give proper credit to you all and let everyone who's listening to this understand. We had a boy in Delaware who was literally dying, and sadly he did pass away.
Yeah.
And
Christian.
you put together just an amazing bucket of everything that he wanted. And I had the privilege with my daughter
Mm-hmm.
to go and present the Gold Rush Cure gifts to him and to see Christian's face and just the joy that he had. And he was putting the headphones on and just everything. And it's just, I walked out of there with such mixed emotions.
Mm-hmm.
On the one hand, I'm so sad that this teenage boy is dying. And on the other hand, that I was a courier for you, and then we
Yeah.
know each other, and we brought this together, and your donors, made that happen. I want your supporters and donors to know the far reach that you have. I mean, to your question, what I say to our donors and supporters and students, we work with a lot of college
Mm-hmm.
students around the country.
Yeah.
I love, for me, it's even more special when it's kids helping kids fight cancer.
Yeah, I agree.
If Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and Mark Zuckerberg are listening to this, I will gladly take your billions of dollars. You can send a check, send $1 billion to Gold Rush, send $1 billion to me. But it's even more special when it's young people helping kids that they don't even know, and most of them don't even know a story. When I talk on college campuses, after every talk, I'll usually have a few kids that come up that say, my cousin, my brother, me. But for the most part, they don't know someone with cancer, childhood cancer,
Mm-hmm.
yet they still want to help.
Mm-hmm.
And for a dad who has lost his child from this world, when I see young people like that, it energizes me.
Yeah.
And conversely, it also makes me so angry when people my age use that famous line, kids these days. BS.
Yeah.
The kids these days are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They're so epic and generous and for my organization, the Andrew McDonough Foundation, wouldn't be doing nearly the amount of giving and impact without young people.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I think is also important, supporters of any childhood cancer charity, is the dose of perspective that it gives you. You don't want to be Sandy Barker. You don't want to be Joe McDonough.
Yeah.
Amen. You do not want to have walked in our shoes.
No.
I never thought I was going to. You probably never thought you were going to. Oh. Our perfect lives were just imploded one day. But it is what it is. I mean, at the risk of sounding cold, we can't change that. Mm-hmm. We can change what we do going forward. But I think a lot of our supporters see that, I know in the case of the college students, we were working with college students who are high achieving kids who are worrying about grades and job interviews and relationships. And then all of a sudden they meet some of these children with cancer. And then maybe the 88 that they had hoped was a 98 on mm-hmm. their test doesn't seem so important.
Broaden this perspective.
Yeah. You went to a lot of UCLA baseball games and wanted everyone to be a victory, right?
Yep.
But if your son didn't have a great game or if something didn't happen, life goes on.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely brings you in perspective. And what you said, when we started Gold Rush Cure Foundation, one of the things that was so important to me, and I think that's why we just click on so many levels, but I really wanted to bring, there's something beautiful about kids helping other kids. Mm-hmm. For the sick kids, having other kids that are healthy be there and support them is a beautiful thing. And for the healthy kids, seeing sick kids and what they're going through makes them appreciate what they have even more. So that has always been something that has been very near and dear to my heart too. And it's because I think it's important for both sides, both kids, and I love that you guys do so much with, with students, with kids, because you're allowing both sides to be able to benefit, from what they're either serving or, being the recipient. And it's awesome. And I feel like my next question that I was going to ask is, what does bring you joy? And I can tell just a lot of it is the people that you get to work with, and the volunteers, and seeing these kids just be amazing kids, that has to, I want, like, when you're going through all this, you've got to feel Andrew with you. You've got to feel Andrew there going, good job, Dad. Good job, Mom. Good job, Allie. Because how proud he is of the work that you're overseeing. So I would love to hear your response on that, because it's just, I hope you feel how proud he is of you guys.
Yeah, there's you had said something which is really important to me. My son. And as a parent, and I think for most parents who have lost a child, we don't want our kids forgotten. And when someone says to me, and this happens all the time on college campuses, we work with the students, and they're like, I never got to meet Andrew, but I feel like I know him. And that just warms my heart. Yeah. And a lot of these great kids, and I'm biased, of course, my son wasn't perfect, but I think my son would be the kind of kid that would be involved in something like this to help other people.
Yeah.
That's the way he lived his life, and he did a lot of really kind things in the 14 short years he had. And the other joy that I have is being a grandfather now to Luke Andrew. That is a joy. But I'm not going to lie and say life is perfect, because I start and finish every day in my son's bedroom. And my son's bedroom is unchanged from 2007. And that may sound odd to people. I have no better use for that room. And I feel close to Andrew when I go in there. And I talk to Andrew during the day. And I wear a cross around my neck every day that he wore. And, I feel like the world lost a bright light when my son died, and I'm sure you feel the same with your son. And it's a strange thing, because the depth of our pain is a function of the love that we have in our heart.
Absolutely.
And we're so fortunate. Like, there are some parents and children that never have the connection that you and Christian had, and me and Andrew, and because of how great it was, it hurt so much. Yeah. But when I see the good that's coming out of our foundation, I do feel like Andrew is smiling down and proudly, and I think he's probably getting
I'm sure he's so proud of you. And I always, after I met you and kind of got to know more about Andrew, I'm like thinking, Christian, look for Andrew in heaven. I hope they met, because I know if they've met each other in heaven, they are fast friends, because they're definitely two peas in a pod.
Absolutely.
Not just because their parents are friends, but because they are very like-minded, on so many different things. And I just think that's so beautiful. So milestones, $5.5 million, that's pretty amazing. But do you guys have any goals for, this coming year, that kind of thing, for Be Positive? Or how do you do that each year?
Well, it's I'm a very impatient person.
I'm there with you, my friend. You can ask my board members and husband.
I want better cancer treatments tomorrow.
Yes. Yesterday.
I just returned this morning from Seattle Children's Hospital, and I'm just geeked up about everything. I wish I had 10 times the amount of money to donate to great hospitals around the world. In the meantime, though, the families continue to need help. And we can only help to the extent that we can raise the money. So, we're growing significantly,
Mm-hmm.
and we're serving a need that I think was underserved, not unserved completely, but underserved.
Yeah.
Um, and so, I expect that we have a great team that's growing. We have an office. I work in Delaware, and we have an office in New York City. We have now a person in Boston, San Diego, Birmingham, Alabama, and Nashville, Tennessee. So,
Wow.
as we put more bodies out there, hopefully we can see some pretty significant incremental growth and help more families and fund more research. Some of our donors want to hear only about family assistance. Some of our donors just want to hear research. It's
Mm-hmm.
there's not a right and a wrong answer, but we kind of want to address both.
And they both need to be addressed because
Yeah.
both are needs, and yes, like you said, what resonates with one person more, the personal, effect of what you're doing is different than the research effect, and both are super important, but we all have something that's on our heart that's a little more important. So I think that's awesome that you do cover both. So as this coming year, and it's a super bright year for you guys, what are you excited about? Both personally, I mean, you've got a almost brand new grandbaby. I mean, Luke's still little, and just in that aspect, and with Be Positive.
Well, with Be Positive, I'll start with that. What I am really, really jazzed up about is, knock wood, I think we are kind of getting through the pandemic from the standpoint of schools being shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that important to the Be Positive Foundation? So much of our revenue is generated on campuses.
Mm-hmm.
And so during the pandemic, that was tough because
Yeah.
we couldn't be on campus. I mean,
Yeah.
next week I'll be at the University of Alabama and the University of Texas, and certain schools weren't allowing us on campus,
Mm-hmm.
and so we were being kind of handcuffed on the fundraising, although the needs were not slowing up at
No.
all.
Mm-mm.
So I kind of feel like the doors are being reopened, and it's almost like pre-pandemic time from the standpoint of trying to raise funds. I
Hopeful
hope so.
future. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to me 9 months from now, and I may say something different, but I think so. I'm also very excited about some of the work we're doing globally on the research front. We do a lot with a platform called Accelerate, which is a whole worldwide initiative. And on the personal side, there's no question. While I would never put the burden on my grandson to replace my son,
Mm-hmm. No.
nobody ever will. I could have 15 grandchildren, but there would still only be one Andrew. Having said that, though, man, is it fun.
Yeah.
No, it's just to have this little guy. His name is Luke Andrew, and he reminds me a lot of his Uncle Andrew.
Yeah.
And so personally, he's my big he's what gets me up in the morning.
New joy. Yeah.
Yeah.
New joy. I mean,
this is going to be the most spoiled child in the country.
Well, he's beautiful and adorable. Before we end, what words of wisdom would you give? We've been through the ringer, my friend, and someone who's just starting out in this journey, what are some words of wisdom you would give parents, kids, as they're starting it? Because I think there's wisdom when you have gone through everything like we've gone through.
Two things come to mind. The first is, don't look too far down the path.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hear, oh, you have a 2.5-year protocol. You have this, you have that. Win today. Win today. Make today as great as it can be for your son or daughter, and then face tomorrow. And maybe it's survive the next 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then it's 3 hours.
Yep.
Our brains, our bodies, our hearts cannot process going from a perfectly normal life to Guess what, mom? Guess what, dad? Your child has cancer, which
Yeah.
of course you go down a path thinking the worst, which
Yep.
is not necessarily the case,
Yeah.
but it's going to be
Hmm.
a long road.
Yeah.
We're not built to handle all that.
Yeah.
So take it one day at a time.
Great
Win
advice.
today. The second thing I would say is kind of, I touched on it earlier about being an advocate. Don't be shy about challenging the doctors and asking for second or third or fourth opinions.
Hmm.
Oftentimes I talk to families and they'll say, but Dr. So-and-so has been so nice. I don't want to hurt their feelings. I get that they're being so nice. If they're a really good doctor,
Hmm.
they will have no problem
Hmm.
whatsoever with you saying, Doctor, can you help me facilitate a second opinion at hospital X or
Hmm.
with this expert?
Hmm.
There is nothing wrong
Yeah.
to do that. That's our jobs as parent
Yep.
advocates for that child in the bed. And let me tell you, heaven forbid you end up in my shoes
Hmm.
or Sandy's shoes. You better be able to say, I did
Yeah.
everything I could for my
Absolutely.
child
Yeah.
so that you can lay
Yeah.
your head on the pillow
Yeah.
and sleep at night.
Yep. Absolutely. And we had that situation. We, as great of a hospital that we were out initially at his diagnosis, we knew, I mean, there's 10 diagnoses of what he has, per year. They don't even know how to treat it. So with the bone marrow transplant, I mean, I studied nursing before hygiene. I mean, I had a medical background and I just got going looking for hospitals. And when it came down to, we were not going to do the bone marrow transplant where he was, it wasn't met with, it wasn't super welcomed, but they understood. They understood. And going to Seattle Children's was, I mean, they are amazing. And I know Christian died from a horrible, horrible, relentless cancer, not from horrible care. And I do know what you said, my friend. There's nothing else I could have done, even though you still think, wow, is there anything? What rock didn't I look under? That kind of thing. I still know in my heart that I left no stone unturned. And you're right. That does help you sleep at night, and that's important, to be able to know that. That's great advice. I'd say one other thing for, 2 cents from me is, I like doing stuff for people. I was not as welcoming having stuff done for me. So that's the other
Mm.
thing is these people that you know or don't know that are offering to help you with something, just say yes. If it's put on their heart to help you, not only will it help you, but
Yeah.
they're being blessed by it. So when they want to bring you a meal, when they want to pick up your kids, whatever it is, just let them do it. So I encourage everybody to go to the Andrew McDonough B Positive Foundation website, check out their social media, support them, follow them. They are an incredible foundation. Thank you, Joe, so much for not just being here today, but for everything you do for our child with cancer families. You know how near and dear they are to me. I know how near and dear they are to you. Again, I have so much respect for you and the work you do, and it's just an honor. It's an honor to know you. So thank you for
Well,
being here.
I appreciate it, and it's definitely, the feeling is mutual. And please give my regards to Gary and your family, and you're blessed with Jeremy and other wonderful folks working with you.
I sure am. I definitely am. Well, there you go. He's amazing. Now you know why his foundation's so big. He works so hard. He rallies people. He's got great support. So thank you for joining us today. Until next time.